Hello from Mindpads. TOG Essay November 2017. Topic number 3. Over time, knowledge has become more accurate. Discuss this statement with reference to two areas of knowledge. Knowledge question 5. How far do natural sciences and history attribute the progress in the respective areas to handling errors and bringing accuracy? The scientific knowledge is always open to question and revision. No idea is proof for eternity. Ideas that we accept today may get modified or rejected outrightly when tested with new evidence in the future. Over time, natural sciences evolved as a disciplined logical search for knowledge obtained by examination of the best available evidence, subject to correction and improvement upon discovery of better evidence, and thus always moving towards accuracy. For example, up until 1938, paleontologists accepted the idea that coelacanths went extinct about 80 million years ago. But that year, a live coelacanth was discovered off the coast of South Africa, causing scientists to revise their ideas and begin to investigate how this animal survives in the deep sea. The superseded scientific theories can be considered erroneous in simplistic sense, but in a much truer and subtler sense, they need only be considered incomplete. Even the existing valid theories can only be considered relatively accurate until a new evidence or better explanation replaces it. As Thomas Kuhn noted in The Structure of Scientific Revolutions, that the periods between the breakdown of one system or theory and the entrenchment of another are always marked by an explosion of competing hypotheses brought forth as filling in the inadequacies of the previous theory. The errors thus encountered are a stepping stone to accurate knowledge over time. For additional content, read more at Mindpads.org. Knowledge question 6. To what extent has our knowledge progressed with accuracy over time? In physics, Newtonian models were crude approximations of the truth, and similarly in biology, the Mendelian processes have turned out to be an even greater simplification of reality than Newton's law. The discovery of gene-protein interaction and other aspects of epigenetics has challenged the view of DNA as destiny and even introduced evidence that environment can influence inheritable traits, something once considered a genetic impossibility. The more we learn in any area of knowing, in evolutionary biology for example, the further we find ourselves from a model that can explain it. The physicists have long encountered ignorance about disorder in the atmosphere, in the turbulent sea, in the fluctuations of wildlife populations, in the oscillations of the heart and the brain, the irregular, non-linear, erratic and discontinuous side. And where classical science stops, chaos begins. Relativity eliminated the Newtonian illusion of absolute space and time. Quantum theory eliminated the Newtonian dream of a controllable measurement process. Chaos eliminated the Laplacian fantasy of deterministic predictability. In our complex world, information, though abundant, is seldom obvious in its implications, and it's not the accuracy and abundance of information, rather than how that information is interpreted, that enables us to have accurate knowledge. Knowledge question 7. How far have religious knowledge systems become accurate with time? Many of the world's great religions base their beliefs upon ancient written sacred texts by the authors presumably inspired by God to write free of error. Over time, religious groups have used various methods to rectify the religious knowledge. The particular texts are ignored, are reinterpreted. Passages previously interpreted literally are now interpreted figuratively, re-regarded as having been valid at the era and or the society in which they were written, but are not meaningful for guidance of people today, are considered to be ambiguous in their original language and are retranslated into English with a different meaning, are unambiguous in their original language but are intentionally mistranslated into English to give an ambiguous meaning. For example, to translate the Hebrew word for slave into English word servant, which can refer to either an employee or a slave. There always has existed an inherent conflict between science and religious belief, hinging on absence of evidence and testing. The same argument of the lack of empirical evidence figures very strongly in atheist versus believers debate that there has not been a reliable testable evidence to support the hypothesis that God exists, and it is therefore not rational to believe that there is a God. Because if God exists and interacts with us, then God interactions must be measurable and detectable in some way, but no such interactions have been observed or measured till date. The atheists further argue that faith, being personal, private, and unmeasurable, is a great excuse to evade the need to bring in evidence in religion. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. For any additional content, visit us at mindpads.org, and for any queries, write to us at mindpads.org@gmail.com.